Hello everybody, how you doing? I hope your Thanksgiving for 2024 was awesome. I am pleasantly stuffed, overly stuffed. Even being on the carnivore diet, had turkey, had ham and eggs for breakfast, had turkey. My wife found a recipe for carnivore mashed potatoes, of all things. So we had a fake mashed potatoes and I made some gravy. So, very good meal. Today, it's time for dessert after Thanksgiving, and I'm going to try a chew. Why? Because I love chew. Today we're trying Stoker's apple. Quality, tradition, and value. This is their 1 pound bag. Apparently you can get this in 8 ounce bags, but they're a little more difficult to find than the 1 pounders. And I believe this has the same ratio, domestic to foreign. Yep. Domestic no less than 19%, foreign no more than 81%. Distributed by National Tobacco Corporation. Got a picture of Mr. Bobby Stoker there on the bag. From what I understand, he's more of a spokesman these days. He doesn't really run the company. He's more the figurehead, spokesman type thing. National Tobacco takes care of all the other stuff. So anyway, not smelling any apple through the bag. So I'm going to rip it open and find out. Suit, tie, dip, and chew guy, if you're watching this, I'm going to mess with your OCD, so turn your head away. I'm tearing the bag. I'm not cutting. I'm sorry. So. And it is open. Ooh. This is not candy apple, not Jolly Rancher apple. This is apple pie apple. Yes. Oh, I gotta sit here for 15 minutes and just smell the bag and I'd be happy. Oh man, that smelled nice. It's not real strong, subtle flavor, subtle aroma that I'm catching. But yeah, it's coming across as apple pie. Get in here, pull some out for you. There we are. Look at all that tobacco-y goodness. Not seeing much in the way of stem material in here. Just the veiny parts of the leaves is all. Very moist. I've noticed with this, the further down the bag you go, the more moist it gets. So I'm going to turn some of this over on the back. Do a little spin cycle in there. Get some stuff that's about halfway down. There we go. And nice dark brown, some translucent bits. Yeah, it's like apple pie spice is what I'm getting. So, without further ado. Mmm. Oh, dude. I'm going to resist the urge to eat this. Oh, yeah. This is a treat. Mmm. Oh, yeah. I've been wanting to try this stuff all week long since I got it. Figure I'd wait till after Thanksgiving dinner to treat myself to some dessert since I can't really have sugary stuff. Which is kind of fitting historically because the very first Thanksgiving feast probably didn't have a whole lot of sweets involved. And for those of you who are interested about the history of Thanksgiving, well, here's the Cliff Notes version. Oh, warm apple pie. It's almost sweet apples, a little bit of cinnamon, maybe some nutmeg. I don't know how they did it. Not much of a molassesy flavor. A little bit of it's in there, but it's got those nice notes. Remind you of warm apple pie. This is, can't wait to see how this does. It juices up some more. In 1620, pilgrims arrive and Cape Cod, Massachusetts. They arrived in Cape Cod. They were originally wanting to go to the Hudson River. They were off course. They went across the bay to what is now Plymouth, Massachusetts. That's where they stayed the winter. Most of them stayed on board the boat. And as a result, a lot of them died of scurvy, malnutrition, various diseases, things like that. Their first winter was not good. In the spring of 1621, they decided to start settling on the mainland. They made peaceful contact with the natives. One of them, or actually more than one of them, spoke English. And one of them, his name was Squanto. That is a completely different story on its own. Maybe I'll cover that some other day. But Squanto showed them wild edible plants, showed them how to plant corn, some of the basic agriculture stuff that the natives used. And through 1621, they worked on establishing their colony. That fall, in late September, early November, after a successful harvest, they threw a feast. And there's not much known about that feast. There's one entry of note, comes from Edward Winslow, one of the pilgrims. And I got a quote here from him. Let me read it real quick. Our harvest being gotten in, our governor sent forth 4 men on fowling, so that we might, after a special manner, rejoice together after we had gathered the fruits of our labors. They 4 in one day killed as much fowl as with a little help beside, served the company almost a week. In one day, they caught enough ducks, geese, turkeys, nobody knows, it's just fowl, to feed everybody there for a week. At which time, amongst other recreations, we exercised our arms, many of the Indians coming amongst us, and amongst the rest, their greatest king, Massasoit, I hope I pronounced that correctly, with some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted. And they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation and bestowed upon our governor and upon the captain and others. And although it will not always be so plentiful as it was at this time with us, yet by the goodness of God we are so far from want that we often wish you partakers of our plenty. That was the first Thanksgiving. It lasted for several days. The big chief in the area, 90 other Indians, plus whoever else was already hanging out with them, the pilgrims, they had a feast and they had a party for a few days. They had another feast in 1623. First one was in 1621. They did it again in 1623 after drought threatened their crops, but they managed to get in a harvest anyway. And after that, they proclaimed more feasts of Thanksgiving, thanking God for a good harvest in various years and on different days. During the Revolutionary War, 1 or more days of Thanksgiving were decreed by the Continental Congress. Those were always, again, different days, different months. It depended on when they shouted out a decree. George Washington, in 1789, gave the first proclamation of Thanksgiving as our new nation. And again, after that, it was followed by various days and times after that. In 1817, New York became the first of several states to officially adopt an annual Thanksgiving holiday. Now, each collaborated on a different day, and the American South was largely not familiar with it. It's mainly a thing up in the Northeast, the northeastern states and former colonies. In 1827, the noted magazine editor, and she was a prolific writer, Sarah Josephina Hale. She's most known for the nursery rhyme, Mary Had a Little Lamb. She's the one who wrote that. She launched a campaign to establish Thanksgiving as a national holiday. She wrote letters, petitions, editorials in her magazines, governors, senators, presidents, politicians, anybody who would listen. Earned her the nickname the Mother of Thanksgiving. Finally, in 1863, after 36 years of trying, Abraham Lincoln heeded her request. And at the height of the Civil War, in a proclamation entreating all Americans to ask God to, and I quote, commend to his tender care all those who have become widows, orphans, mourners, or sufferers in the lamentable civil strife, and to heal the wounds of the nation. He scheduled Thanksgiving for the final Thursday in November. It was celebrated as such each November until 1939, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt moved the holiday up 1 week in an attempt to spur retail sales during the Great Depression. Roosevelt's plan did not go over well. It was met with pretty passionate opposition. And in 1941, the president reluctantly signed a bill moving Thanksgiving back to the fourth Thursday in November. Today, most Americans don't recognize Thanksgiving as the religious holiday that it was originally established at. The Pilgrims, the Puritans, they established the time just to say, thank you, God, for getting us through another year. Bountiful harvest. Let's celebrate and be thankful. For us, it's mainly just a meal to hang around with family. Nobody knows if turkey was served at that first Thanksgiving meal. The journal entry says fowl, and we know that the natives brought 5 deer. Beyond that, we don't know. However, they figure that about 90% of Americans eat turkey on Thanksgiving. And there you have the Cliff Notes version of Thanksgiving. 1621 to 2024. And I'm finishing off my Thanksgiving meal with some Stoker's Apple Chew. And this is really good. Flavors died off a little bit. Still getting plenty of flavor. Juicing up real well. Nice thing you gotta remember with the Stokers, it starts off really moist. And so its lifespan in your mouth is not going to be as long as, say, America's Best or any of the others. Those are a little bit drier, a little more tacky, not as moist and pliable as the Stokers. But the Stokers packs plenty of flavor. It just doesn't last quite as long. 25, 30 minutes, it's pretty much done. The apple on this one isn't real strong, but it's all the other apple pie-ish flavors mingling with it that just give it that apple pie-esque flavor. This is a dessert dip, or chew, sorry, dessert chew. And for someone like me who can't have a big slice of apple pie with a giant dollop of vanilla ice cream on top of it, this is fitting the bill pretty darn good. But yeah, the initial Pilgrims, they made peaceful relations with the natives, and that peace lasted for 50 years. It wasn't until more colonies were being established and stuff where things got a little hostile. And one of the things that really, besides getting kicked out of some of their ancestral hunting areas, was disease. Disease killed more natives than firearms ever did. They had no immunity to combat things like smallpox, typhoid, diphtheria, any of the myriad of diseases that folks were bringing over from Europe. They'd never encountered those diseases before, and their bodies were not equipped for it. So, a simple disease that might, back then it would kill 20% of the colonist population, it would wipe out an entire village. It'd kill hundreds. And it was remarkably sad. And that's why a lot of the days today, when anthropologists go into some of the remote villages like down in South America or the South Pacific, they take great care to make sure they're not bringing in any contagions that will wipe out an entire village. Something that we're pretty much immune to or we're used to can be deadly to them because they've never encountered that disease before, which is sad and terrifying at the same time. But yeah, it's amazing how this apple pie flavor is coming through. It's not tart apple. It's just like apple pie filling. You get the apple, you get the hints of the cinnamon and the other spices going around in there. You got the sweetness from the molasses playing a happy dance in your mouth. It's not coming across as raisiny. All the other flavorings are kind of covering up that raisiny taste, and it's just pure appley goodness. This is really good stuff. This bag, I'm gonna have no problem finishing this bag, I guarantee it. If you've never tried it before, Stoker's apple, yeah, it's worth a shot if you can find it. This is good stuff. I don't see myself dipping this every day, but whenever I want to satisfy that sweet tooth or get an apple pie-ish type thing, oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is definitely, it's going to be a regular in my rotation, I know that. All right, this has been Mikey. A little bit on the origins of Thanksgiving and Stoker's apple. Be sure and check it out if you haven't tried it. This is good stuff. For those of us who can't have apple pie, this hits that spot. Pretty darn good. Y'all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. 2024 is coming to a close. Let's get ready to welcome 2025. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.